and welcome to Jerez down in southwestern Spain for the penultimate round of the 2015 CEV Repsol Championships. We have 3 races remaining in the Moto3 Junior World Championship for 2015. We saw a spectacular race earlier between Albert Arenas, Nicolo Bulega and Juan Mir. We're expecting the same again right now. Quite windy, possibility of rain earlier on, although at the moment it looks like we're going to be okay. Steve Day here alongside Harry Lloyd, all to play for coming into the last race here in Jerez.
Yeah, certainly, and you know, we saw a really close race between the likes of Bulega, Arenas and Mir, as you said. Won't spoil the result, but there's definitely 1 or 2 riders of those top 3 who will be out to get revenge for that last race, and hopefully it'll be another really hard-fought race. You know, there was a great battle for first, and also great battles throughout the field for 5th and so on. So it really is looking to be another good day of racing. The wind continues to pick up here. Marco Bezzecchi getting a bit wobbly with his wheelie on pit lane exit there. Wouldn't want to crash it out of pit lane. That would be a bit embarrassing.
Yeah, especially wiping out your teammate who's just ahead of there as he exited pit lane. Of course, the good news is, if you're Aaron Cannett's fans, Aaron Cannett, who came into this round championship leader injured, is that with Albert Arenas winning, he's taken valuable points out of the title rivals as well. And now means that coming into this race, even with a win for Nicolo Bulega, he would go into the next round of the championship with just 3 or 4 point lead. So Canet really in the mix. That's provided, of course, he'll be fit to ride in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, certainly. If those of you didn't join us before, Canet has unfortunately broken the 5th metatarsal in his right foot and has been deemed unfit to ride by the circuit doctor. Canet apparently wanted to ride, was in race direction, fully dressed, boots on, helmet in his arm, ready to go, but the circuit doctor said no. And here is a quick rundown of the race 1 that we saw earlier today. Obviously, conditions still a bit overcast. It was a great start from the likes of Bulega and Mir. Terrible start from Jamal Messiah there at the back. Huge wheelie for the tiny rider. But yeah, Mir led into the first corner, and it was a great couple of opening laps from the Spaniard. But Italy's Nicolo Bulega definitely didn't let him have it his own way, and those two were really going at it in the opening laps, with Albert Arenas sort of just carefully watching and waiting.
Yeah, it was a fascinating race, and as you see, every rider getting an opportunity to lead at some point. A few mistakes here and there. Nicolo Bulega having to do all of the work in the turns due to his height disadvantage down the straight. Here's Albert Arenas, number 11, going underneath Juan Mir.
Yeah, that turn 5, that Cedo Pons corner, really a favourite overtaking place of these Moto3 guys. And there's Juan Mir up the inside, really strong move, lots of hard braking in this class, and especially at this circuit. Bulega's team keeping him well informed. There was Arenas going up the inside at dry sack, and then Bulega cutting back yet again. Another classic move that we saw many, many times. And a lot of action at turn 13, Jorge Lorenzo bend, side of many a race-defining moment. And it all came down to the last lap with Bulega and Mir really pushing each other as hard as they dared, building up to that final corner.
Yeah, just watch this, number 36. He almost tucks the front here. That could have been curtains for him. He would have probably wiped out Bulega as well. But either way, these two thought they were battling it out for the win. Elbows, 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 and look who pops through out of the slipstream, out of the bubble. Number 11, Albert Arenas, and that must be the best way of taking a victory possible.
Yeah, not too bad, you know. Arenas definitely knew that something like that would happen, that it would get a bit physical at that last corner, so he was ready to just watch and wait. You know, worst case scenario, he still finishes 3rd and on the podium. But here is the man on pole position, Nicolo Bulega. He really showed that he had the pace to lead the race, and that especially in the closing stage of the lap, from about turn 8 onwards, he really is able to carry a lot of pace, especially through Alex Crivier turn 11, and Ferrari turn 12, who's able to just carry so much speed on that KTM.
You see his impressive spread of results on the right-hand side of your screen there. He's finished every single race inside the top 7. 3 second places on the trot now for the young Italian, but of course still without that elusive win.
Yeah, that's really, really surprising. You know, Bulega gets talked about a lot as, you know, the next Valentino Rossi, obviously being part of the VR46 Academy and running the 46. But it does surprise a fair few people when you say, oh yeah, but Bulega still hasn't taken his first win. So hopefully he'll be able to change that here. But Juan Mir, as you see, his fan club there, one of the biggest obstacles to Bulega taking that first win. And here is the man fresh off a replacement ride in the World Championship, filled in for Hiroki Ono with the Leopard team, riding the Honda. Here he is riding the Iota Honda, a slightly different frame to the World Championship bike, but he showed himself a daft hand in the World Championship, able to fight inside that top 10 before crashing. And as you can see from his body record, unfortunately, he is a bit of a crasher. He's sort of a win it or bin it type guy, unfortunately.
Yeah, he'll look to try and put that right, of course, as he moves into the World Championship full-time for next year, and you just never know. But at the moment, he looks like he could be in for a good end to the season. Quite a big fan base for Juan Mir here this morning. I saw them all trundling in this morning with jackets for Juan as well, so they're all looking forward to it. The wind still continuing to pick up as we look at Lorenzo Petrarca. Starts third on the grid, which was a surprise. Couldn't quite put that into a similar result in the race, though.
No, it seems like maybe he got a bit of a helping hand in qualifying and was able to get up 1 or 2 grid positions higher than usual, but he was able to match his season best result of 7th. So again, he'll be looking to finish inside that top 10 and try and have a strong end to the season before looking ahead to next year. You know, lots of these guys who aren't fighting for the championships are just really looking for a strong final result to secure a good ride for next year and hopefully then fight for the championship.
Here is Albert Arenas then, number 11. There were times in that first race earlier on where you had to question whether or not he'd be a part of it. He fell back a little bit in third, and then he just sat there prettily watching the other two ahead of him scuffling, and in the end gets his hands on that first win of the season. You have to ask yourself where he'd be in the championship in terms of how close to the leaders had he not have had that non-finish earlier in the season.
Yeah, because as you saw from his results, really strong, only twice outside the top 5, 6th once, and then obviously that crash in Le Mans where he didn't score any points, so a bit of a bummer for him there. And here is Bo Benschneider with the Dutch racing team, Red Bull Rookie Champion, booked that series and will be moving to the World Championship next year. And, you know, he was 4th in the first race here, matching his second best result of the season. And his bike's a bit underpowered, so he's been struggling to keep with those front guys. But certainly if there's 1 or 2 incidents at the front, Bo is your man to look for that podium.
Yeah, I think we'll be seeing quite a bit more of Bo in future rounds to come as well next year. The Red Bull Rookie Champion who dominated the field this year. Normally, Red Bull Rookie Champions go on to some pretty good stuff in the future. This is number 73, meanwhile, a bit further back on the grid. Pizzoli, the Italian, again, for him, it wasn't quite so good in race 1. He ended the proceedings quite early on. Yeah,
unfortunate crash for him, his first DNF of the year. And as you can see from that record, he's been a bit hit or miss. You know, the last few rounds has been inside the points, and he'll definitely be looking to continue that, obviously, with the likes of Albert Arenas and Della Porta as his teammates. It's clear that that Husqvarna bike is capable of fighting for the front in these races, so hopefully Pizzoli can latch onto the back of the group and, you know, not only learn some racecraft but also get an elbow or 2 in there and, you know, hopefully secure the top 5. And here is the other of those Leglise Academy trio, Lorenzo Della Porta, the young Italian. A lot of promise inside this young kid. He's been racing in the World Championship, filling in for Isaac Vinales, who moved on to another team, and he's been doing quite well in there. His results have been a bit hit or miss this season, as you can see, 4 times in the top 5, but then, you know, 2 crashes and a no score in Aragon was definitely not what he was hoping for.
No, next up on the grid will be one of the Asia Talent team riders on the Honda, Yuta Date, number 31, 16-year-old, 18th overall in the championship coming into this weekend. Best result of a 10th coming into Jerez. But here he is now, one of many riders from the Asia Talent Cup to have come over. 13th in race 1 earlier on here. Yeah,
certainly. This whole Asia Talent Cup initiative was set up to bring over riders from Japan, from Indonesia, from Thailand. You know, they have Alberto Puig helping them. Alberto Puig is obviously a famous name in motorcycle racing, one of the best rider coaches around, and he can be quite strict at times, but Puig is helping to whip those 3 Asia Talent riders into shape, and their results have been improving with each and every race.
One of the youngest riders on the grid now, Jaume Masaya, on the junior team, Estrella Galicia Honda. 1 podium to his name so far this year. You can see that came at Aragon earlier in the season. 8th place in race 1 here earlier this morning.
Yep, and holding up a sign there, sending his best wishes to teammate Aaron Canet. As we said, Canet unfortunately not participating in this race due to that injured foot that he sustained on Friday. And the wind continues to pick up here. There's a distinct whistle in our commentary position from the wind coming through one of the cracks. So hopefully it doesn't affect any of these Moto3 riders, because with the bikes being so small, the gusts can really buffet them around. As you can see, the bit of paper held by Senna Yamada getting blown back and struggling to hold it up.
Yeah, Senna Yamada then, 21, one of the oldest riders in the field, had a strong result in race 1 this morning. 6th place for him. His best came at Le Mans in race 2, right at the start of the year.
Yeah, and he'll be looking for another top 10 result, you know. As one of the more experienced riders, I feel he should really be up inside that top 10 every week. He's had 1 or 2 crashes that really haven't helped.
The Sync 58 Squadra Corsa team, a couple of riders for them. This is Stefano Valtellini. We're expecting to see these guys perhaps make the step up into Moto3, but maybe not next year, Harry.
Yeah, certainly. It seems like they've moved from the Italian Championship to the Spanish Championship this year, and initial rumours had suggested that they would then be stepping to the World Championship next year, but no, it looks like it'll be 2017. Here's a rider to watch, Kyle Idampawi, unfortunately unable to finish race 1, his first DNF of the year. But this is his first year, you know, really racing on proper race circuits. He cut his teeth on Malaysian underbone scooters racing in his home of Malaysia. And he's definitely one to watch if it does rain. As you can see there, the flag's being blown, the wind continues to pick up, and it's getting increasingly dark, so who knows what could happen. But here now, a quick rundown of the grid. As we said, Belega on pole ahead of Mir, ahead of Petrarca. There in third with Alberto Renes, Bo Benchinator and Davide Pizzoli rounding out row 2. Ahead of Della Porta, Date and little Jaume Masia rounding out row 3 for your top 9 on the grid.
Further back then, we just saw Senna Yamada wishing Aaron Canet well, then Valtellini and Powie hoping for rain. Arbolino heads row 5 ahead of Rory Skinner and Gerard Rieu and Kyoto Toba, Aaron Palenko and Martin van Heeren, the Belgian rider, on row 6.
Then heading row 7 is Italian CIV Moto3 champion Marco Bezzecchi ahead of Fernandez and Jerez. Then German Maximilian Kapler ahead of Ruiz, and Adam Norton, number 33 from Malaysia, ahead of Saez, Fellini and Lawson Waters bringing up the back.
Nunez and Martinez then on row 10, the Mexican number 29, number 8 in 29th spot. Just on that camera lens a moment ago, a couple of spots of rain. And
that wind is absolutely brutal now. I'm not sure how these Moto3 riders are going to cope. Usually at tracks like Phillip Island in the World Championship, it's really known for being extremely windy. They'll drill holes in the fairing to let the wind pass through without moving the bike around too much. I saw Rory Skinner just in the middle of your picture there on the blue bike with the red helmet. He was testing one of those fairings yesterday during practice. So hopefully all of these guys can stay upright as they leave for their warm-up lap ahead of the race.
Yeah, I remember watching a British Championship 125 GP race at Snetterton around about a decade ago now, I think it was, and the wind was so bad that they were on complete opposite lock down the back straight at Snetterton, so it just shows you what it's like. There you can see a couple of spots just on the camera lens there. There's no major worry at the moment. It would take quite a downpour for things to change in terms of the result. Of course, this has started off as a dry race, so if we were to get some rain, you'd probably expect to see a red flag coming out pretty quickly, depending on how much you had.
Yeah, exactly, and this is where, you know, there are some riders will see 1 or 2 spots of rain on their visor and they'll completely lose it, and you know, they'll start worrying too much and they'll drop back, and that's when you can have guys, you know, like your Senna Yamadas who have nothing to lose, who say, oh well, let's just grip it and rip it, and can charge through the field when conditions start to get a bit iffy. So it'll be interesting to see what the likes of Belega and Mir do in these somewhat tricky conditions, because a crash for them now would be absolutely terrible. As you can see, 21 and 24 points behind leader Canet, who's currently out.
Yep, so a win for one of those guys will put them to the top of the championship going into the final round. And don't forget about Albert Arenas. If he gets his hands on another winner's trophy here, then all of a sudden his name is in the frame. And that didn't really look like it was possible when we woke up this morning here in Jerez. So, well, let's hope for the same again. It was a fascinating race that unfolded earlier on. Will anyone else join in the fun out front? Powie certainly lost a lot of ground in the championship. Obviously, that last round taking a 12th before we came here in Navarra, followed up by that DNF. There's 2 races where he's lost big points. And as a result, he's unfortunately lost out 4th overall in the championship.
Yeah, it's still big points to play for, obviously. 25 points for the race win here. And then with 2 races in Valencia, there's still another 50 points there to play for. So your likes of Alberto Arenas, it may seem unlikely, but, you know, if Canet does come back not fully fit and someone has a crash, then Arenas could be a late surprise for this title.
They make the way onto the grid then for another 16-lap race. 2 races at most rounds for the Moto3 Championship, which is certainly great for their experience, their racecraft. There's some championships still up for grabs here overall. Canet not here, so all eyes on Juan Mir, Nicolo Balega and Albert Arenas. Paui, Ben Schneider, Messia, will they have a say? Well, you're about to find out. There's the number 46 on pole ahead of Mir, and then 3rd is Petrarca. Petrarca made a bit of a hash of his start earlier on, so let's see if he can get it a bit better this time. The green flag's at the back, we're ready to go.
Camera really struggling to stay steady there as the wind continues to pick up.
Right, go out here then in Jerez, and it looks like a solid start from Balega on pole position. Arenas also coming through from the 2nd row. Petrarca gets away much better this time, but here comes Albert Arenas up into 2nd place. He shoots through ahead of Juan Mir, and look at those spots of rain on the camera lens again.
More and more rain. There's a lot to gain for some riders who are a bit more brave. As you can see, one of the Asian Talent Cup riders, I'm pretty sure that's probably Yuta Data, who's made a big move there. You know, he's definitely one of these guys who has everything to prove and absolutely nothing to lose. So watch out for guys like Date and like João Messia to come charging through. But meanwhile, it's Balega who, as we saw in race 1, at the front trying to open up a bit of a gap as Albert Arenas gets ahead of Juan Mir with Ben Schneider once again in 4th.
Yeah, he's just holding up the rest of the pack at the moment. Ben Schneider trying to do the best that he can to hold on to the top 3. That will be a struggle, though, on that particular machine he's on. Balega it is that leads from Arenas and Mir, and already Mir now trying to pull out of the slipstream and pull a move down into dry sack, and he does it just. Will he hold on to it, though?
Yes, manages to just get ahead of Albert Arenas and hold it steady. Meanwhile, the Asia Talent Cup riders continued to make gains, and it looks like it's Semi Amadi just right at the back of this pretty solid group battling for the lead. All of them, you know, will be benefiting from the slipstream, so that can really help close up big gaps very quickly.
Ben Schneider's lost a couple of places. Della Porta and Yuta Date have moved up ahead of him. So Della Porta's up behind his teammate at the moment, Albert Arenas. So out front, it's Balega from Mir, then Arenas, then Della Porta. So Della Porta maybe making a better fist of it this time. He might just be able to tag onto this crew out front.
Yeah, meanwhile, big struggles for Carl and Powery down in 18th position, but a great start from Rory Skinner, who's already up in 13th in just his 2nd weekend of racing in the CEV. Big move coming from Lorenzo Della Porta. Careful to not take out your teammate there. That would not make the boss happy.
Well, no, but a fall here from Arenas at this stage would all but end any chances that he had at all of taking the championship. And now there's a chance for Arenas to pull out the slipstream of Mir. They stay put for now. Della Porta is looking pretty lively, though. The number 48 there, bright yellow wheels, next to his teammate. Again, look, moving up into 3rd.
Oh, nice move from Della Porta there, but he's certainly starting to risk it. You know, you do not want to be taking out your teammate. Della Porta's definitely struggling a bit more in this championship in terms of challenging for the title than Albert Arenas. So if I were the team boss, I would have maybe said, look, just keep it cool a bit, you know.
Good starts then for Yuta Date. He's 18th overall in the championship. He's got a few points so far this season, but at the moment he's in a very strong 5th place as they break away from the rest of the pack. Behind him is Jaume Messia, Ben Schneider and Petrarca. So Ben Schneider really struggling here on the opening few laps. Bit of
an artistic shot there, maybe foreshadowing the rain. Clearly the Leopard Mikado team are ready with the rain tyres in case anything does happen. But meanwhile, Balega continues to stretch his gap just under 0.4 of a second ahead of Juan Mir. So hopefully we've broken that slipstream, but Mir can't gain on him down the straight.
Balega missing out on his first win on the start-finish straight as they came on to the start-finish straight. He, of course, had every chance of doing it. In the end, it was a photo finish between him and Mir for 2nd overall as Albert Arenas came through to take his first win of the season. Further back, Petrarca starting 3rd is 8th ahead of Tony Arbolino. Then it's Seni Yamada, Kaito Toba, Valtellini, Rory Skinner, Gerard Riu, Perez at the moment. Vicente Perez has the final point.
Yeah, and big movements there from Mir to now get really close to Balega as they dive into that turn 13, the final corner. as Date rather continues to stick with Della Porta. So it's a really good experience for Date, and this sort of ride is exactly what Alberto Puig and that Asia Talent team are looking for.
Number 46 it is that leads then, Nicolò Bolega. He led for large quantities of race 1 earlier on, but he's not able to break away, and that is, of course, largely part due to his height and Mir being able to get really tucked in the slipstream of the rider. But this is the section of the circuit where Bolega looks pretty quick. How will Mir cope with turn 5? He needs to get himself really close around here, and then he'll surely make a move down the back straight in the slipstream.
Yeah, the slipstream and then into dry sack. Dry sack, a really hard braking corner. Bolega's probably been the steadiest on the brakes there. Mir's had 1 or 2 moments, but both of them are taking quite different lines to the rest of the field. Bolega especially tending to run it a bit wide. As we might see here, no, it looks like that Mir was not able to get past there.
Albert Arenas, by his own admittance, said he was struggling to stay with the front two in terms of their braking earlier in race 1. Of course, the fact that they kept on taking lumps out of each other really aided Arenas to the victory overall. But at this moment in time, Albert Arenas is trying everything possible to stay with the leading duo, but it's not quite happening for him. Just behind him is his teammate here, Lorenzo Della Porta, who's in turn just ahead of Yuta Date.
Yeah, really good result from him then. Jaume Masia in 6th. Now a fair bit off this back group. It looks like it's now starting to. It looks like we now have 3 fights. You know, the fight for the win, the fight for 4th, and then the fight for 5th, the fight for 6th rather, with Jaume Masia, Petrarca, and Arbolino just off the back there, coming through our picture.
Rory Skinner's made another place up. He's up into 12th at the moment. Picked up his first CEV point earlier on. A rider that will be competing at this level for most of next year. There is Bolega then, across the line we go, a good solid lap, that one, a 47.5, just over a tenth quicker than Juan Mir. Albert Arenas has stayed with them though.
Yeah, and so far this looks like a pretty much a carbon copy of race 1, you know, as these 3 at the front really going at it. It'll be interesting to see if anyone can get ahead of Bolega or if they are waiting now. And, you know, the thing with having 2 races is that all of these guys now know the other guy's tricks more or less. So they might have to get a bit creative with the overtaking this race, because I think they're all going to expect something big at turn 13.
Of course, the fact that the wind's been blowing continuously throughout the day means that the track temperature's certainly dropped since this morning. Not quite as much of an impact for Moto3 machines as it is some of the larger ones. Superbikes will certainly notice a bit of a difference. The sun was out this morning. It's been windy all day though, so it shouldn't be too much of an issue. One rider that certainly seems to be struggling is Bo Benschneider, who's 4th in race 1. He's currently down in 10th.
Yeah, a bit of a squirrely moment there on the brakes from there, but he still manages to close up Bolega, and it looks like he's now within striking distance, and he'll be trying to get past the Italian maybe.
Juan Mir then lining up a move here on Bolega. Albert Arenas again sitting in 3rd place, just quite happy to get out the popcorn and watch these 2 go at it. It worked out perfectly for him in race 1, and he'd be only too happy to pick up the spoils again here in race 2. Of course, we're only just a quarter of the way through this first race. 4 laps gone of 16 so far, as we now pan back to the battle for 4th. There is Della Porta and Yuta Date.
Yeah, it looks like Date is starting to struggle to keep up with Della Porta a bit, but, you know, even just a couple of laps with guys at the top of the championship will be hugely beneficial for Date as he continues to learn.
Just behind this group, Jaume Masia, Lorenzo Petrarca, Tony Arbolino, so a couple of inexperienced Italians getting themselves in the mix here inside the top 10. You're looking at the battle for 4th. This is the fight for the lead though, still quite close between that trio. This is number 77, Petrarca, who started 3rd.
Yeah, nice move there to get ahead of Masia. Really hard to pass Masia on the straight. As you can see, Masia is absolutely tiny compared to the rest of them. Oh, and a terrible crash there for Kaito Toba. Looks like he's hurt his right ankle or knee, and hopefully some of the marshals will be able to help him come off, because walking or bike.
You see, the thing is that Toba hurt his leg, didn't he, in race 1 after he went down, so I'm not sure if it's a similar situation here or not. The number 32 clearly in some pain there, and I think he'll be looking forward to leaving Jerez by the end of today. It's not been a very good day for the Asia Talent Cup champion of 2014. By the way, he's not the reigning champion anymore, because that goes to Sasaki, who has been quite a talent so far this year. He will be seen in this paddock very, very soon. We expect to see him racing in Moto3 next year, Harry.
Yep, should be, and hopefully he'll be another one who can come over here and you know, this is the best feeding ground for the World Championship. No matter what way you look at it, these are the best riders in the world outside of the World Championship. So to come here and to do your apprenticeship here is really what you want. Meanwhile, Conmere continues to look for a way past Blake, but Blake getting those big legs out and taking really defensive lines to try and stop the little snaggers from getting going.
Whatever happens here today, we are going to be in for a close finale to the championship when we get to Valencia in a fortnight's time. Aaron Cannett, who is injured, if you've just joined us, he injured himself on Friday. Not racing here, was declared unfit by the circuit doctor. At the moment, as we come into this race, he was leading by 21 and 24 points respectively over the guys that are currently in first and second. So it looks like it'll be single digits when we get to Valencia.
Meanwhile, having a look outside of our commentary position, you can just see on the right-hand side of the page, the team Leglice, who run the likes of Alberto Arenas, Della Porta, they are preparing what look to be bike stands and parts down in pit lane in case this rain gets worse. So hopefully they're just preparing for the worst and we won't have to have a tyre change, but our teams are definitely aware that it is starting to get a bit moist out on track.
Yeah, well, we'll just have to keep an eye on what happens here on lap 6 of 16. You're looking here at the battle for 4th place. That's Della Porta and Yuta Date, but look who's joining in the party. Tony Arbolino is closing in.
And it looks like that is Davide Pozzoli who has come into the pits. I'm not sure if that's for a tyre change. It looks like he's getting off the bike and maybe just retired. He looks a little stiff, so maybe he's one or two issues from his crash before, but it looks like Pozzoli has unfortunately retired from this race.
What are the rules on the tyre changes in these dry races? Because I mean, I would have thought if it was declared a dry race, they wouldn't have had the opportunity to change.
Yeah, that's what it usually is, but at the CEV they can sometimes be a bit different. You know, we've seen in the CEV before, especially last year in some superbike races, that if there's the fear of rain, they'll usually declare it a wet race just in case, so they can keep the racing going, and then it becomes a decision of the rider to come in and change tyres. But hopefully it'll stay dry here, and we won't have any problems for this Moto3 race because it is building up to be another cracker as Blake Amir and Alberto Arenas continue to be separated by just under a third of a second between all three.
Certainly the vast majority of prototype machinery not really set up for quick wheel changes. It's not something that you see every day. Here we are looking at the battle for 4th.
Yep, Dade closing back in on Della Porta. So maybe Della Porta is one of those riders who've been a bit spooked by the rain, but Dade proving fearless and continuing to charge to try and get up into the top 4 for the first time this season.
Belega it is that still leads out front, by the way. His gap now to Mir in second is 0.3 of a second. Now, that doesn't sound a lot. It isn't, but in terms of what we've seen so far today, it is quite a nice gap as we see there. Messia making up her place and then losing it. That's Tony Arbolino that he's fighting with. Arbolino's lost a couple of places in the last few laps. It is Petrarca that is the rider that's on the move at the moment. Number 77 there, third in that group, chasing down Yuta Date.
Yeah, those riders battling for 4th through 8th are really starting to close up together, so it'll be interesting to see how these riders are faring in the conditions. You know, we have this concept of mental rain where you get 1 or 2 spots on your visor and you get a bit spooked, and especially with young riders like these who don't have too much experience, things like rain can really, really worry them. But now it's all these 5 riders together. It looks like Joan Messia had a bit of a front-end moment there going into the Trisac corner, but he keeps just ahead of Tony Arbolino in 7th.
Certainly Lamada is also closing in on this group just in the background there in 9th place. Then behind him is Bo Benschneider, the reigning new Red Bull rookie champion for 2015. Out front, it's still Belega from Mir and Arenas. The gap was 0.3. It's come down to a 10th again. So as we suspected, those 3 are going to be stuck to each other like glue until we get to the final lap.
Yeah, and you know, it could be a bit of a tactic from both Mir and Arenas that maybe they do let Belega lead, let Belega do all the hard work. You know, he's the one testing the potentially tricky conditions, and he's the one really putting his bike through the more strain as he tries to lead that group. So could be a bit tactical. And here we go into turn 13. Looks like Petrarca's having a bit of a look. Gets up the inside of Dade. Nice move there from Petrarca. Yeah, there'll definitely be some riders out there that will be worried about the conditions at the moment. They'll certainly be able to feel them on those little light Moto3 bikes. You can pick them up with one arm. So you can imagine what the wind can do here as Messia's making quite an audacious move. Whoa! Almost wiping out the pair of them into turn 1. Yeah, lucky there was no contact there. That was a bit of an ambitious move by Messia, I must say, especially with that wind buffeting the bikes around.
Oh, that's Mir!
That's right, Mir has gone down. That's absolutely incredible. We've seen this before from Mir, is that when he's at the front of a race, he just happens to crash. There you can see Lundberg in the middle, just shaking his head. You know, we've seen this too much from Mir, to be honest. and he's going to try and restart, but he's dropping down the field 11th, 12th position. Can we get a replay of this? No.
From where he is on the circuit, it looks like it would probably be a high side, but it's difficult to say at this moment in time. Juan Mir has done this way too often this year, and it's going to cost him a championship at this rate. That is the 4th time this season now that he has thrown the bike down the road.
Yeah, and meanwhile, Alberto Arenas is leading, so clearly there must have been a very big moment for Mir there. So now that battle for 4th with Lorenzo Della Porta is now battle for 3rd. So a great move here, and, you know, this could be championship over for Mir, you know. Mathematically, he'll probably head into that final round with a chance of winning it, but having crashed now, and he's now rejoined way down the order. And here we go, can we get a replay of that? Yeah, massive high side there.
Yeah, high side there, Mir is out of the proceedings, and having won so many races this year, he could have easily found himself as the champion already, and he's trying to nurse the bike round. I can't see him continuing much longer on that. As it is, he's in 25th place. He'd have to do a lot of work to get any points. Balega then in 2nd place. Now, what does Balega do? He's now decided, I'm not playing guinea pig. Albert Arenas goes out front. He's got nothing to lose. Balega will be most relieved if he has been told by his crew on his pit board that Mir is out.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see if Balega now maybe does settle for 2nd, because, you know, Mir is his main championship rival aside from Canet. So now Balega is making up 20 points on both of those guys, and Albert Arenas is also making up big inroads, but it's, you know, it's still Arenas who's the outside fighter in this potentially 4-way fight for the championship going down to Valencia.
Juan Mir has got a bit to learn between now and next season when he enters the World's Championship. You don't stay in World Championship rides for too long if you have a record like this, where, okay, he's quick, he's talented, everybody can see that, but it's just, well, let's see. He's going down the start finish straight, so he's still continuing to ride.
Yeah,
but
no front bubble on his bike though, and with wind like this, you know, his head's going to be getting pushed about every which way, and it's going to be physically pretty demanding on him. And, you know, who knows what other damage the bike sustained. High sides can be pretty vicious, both for the rider and for the bike.
Still a few spots of rain here in Jerez on lap 9 of 16. I'm looking down the start-finish straight. It's just got that look of rain on the horizon here. And at the moment, Albert Arenas doing all right out front, number 11. Like we said earlier, he's got nothing to lose. A win here, by the way, would move him on to 140 points, funnily enough, ahead of Juan Mir, which you'd have never have thought possible at the start of this weekend. It just shows you how amazing motorcycle racing can be at times. Balega, when it comes to the championship that you're looking at on screen, would be 2nd. It said 1st there, but he would be he would be up ahead.
No, he'd be 1 point. If it were to finish as it is now, he'd be just 1 point behind Canet. So with 2 races in Valencia, and Valencia is a track that doesn't really have a long straight, so Balega's size won't be as much of a disadvantage there. Plus, Canet might not be 100% fit. This is really game on for Balega. Yeah,
this is his opportunity, and how odd that he's yet to get a race win and he could become the Moto3 Junior World Champion. This is the battle then now for 3rd place. Della Porta, Masia, Petrarca, all of these guys, their ears have pricked up because all of a sudden they now see a trophy on offer.
Yeah, and they'll have seen Juan Mir crash, so it's not like they're Balega who have to get informed via their pit board. They know that they're now fighting for at least 3rd position.
And there's a few names there that he gets to have their hands on a podium so far this year, so few will be throwing caution to the wind, I'm sure, and just absolutely going for it now, trying to get themselves a podium. Masia there, number 5, trying to find a way through on Della Porta.
Not quite able to. You definitely can't fault Masia for not being aggressive enough. Here comes Balega through on the brakes. Can he get it stopped? No. Alberto Arenas carries just a bit more corner speed through.
Balega has finished every race so far this year, and I hope I'm not giving him the commentary curse there, but that has obviously helped him out in terms of being able to fight for this championship overall. Conversely, Juan Mir, who was down in 25th still, and not showing any signs of making too much progress, always quicker than the guys in front of him, obviously, but 4 DNFs in a championship where there's only 9 or 10 races, it's not going to get you there.
Juan Mir is probably just staying out on track from embarrassment, not having to want to go back and face the team, because, you know, that's definitely a chat that the team will have had with him. Yeah, that team's so experienced, you know, that team's brought through the likes of Danny Kent, Maverick Vinales, Stefan Bridle, Scott Redding, so everyone in that team knows how to shape a good rider, and you know, the crashing thing will have been one of the main things they've tried to address with Mir. Meanwhile, Tony Arbolino, big move from him. Can't quite get, oh, a bit of a flick there.
Yeah, number 4 there on the 658 Squadra course KTM, trying to get himself involved in this scrap for 3rd place. Meanwhile, out front is still just a tenth separating Albert Arenas and Nicolo Balega. Will be interesting to see what Balega does on the final lap. You know, he could just finish 2nd here and be just that point behind in the championship, or does he go for the race win and become championship leader? It's a tricky one to gauge here.
Especially with guys as young as they are in Moto3. You know, Balega's only just turned 16 and he's having to do, you know, all these calculations in his head. Are his team telling him what to do? It's a tough one as Masia makes a big move as well. And here we go, back to that fight for the lead. Balega sitting nice and tight in the slipstream of that Husqvarna, and again, a big look over at Albert Arenas from Balega there as again he can't get through on the brakes.
Yeah, well, I don't think he's going to let you through, Nicolo. That's one thing I can tell you. Albert Arenas came into this weekend on 90 points. He was a full 66 behind in the championship overall. And he could end up just 16 points behind in the championship overall if he can get his hands on a race win. And that is as good as it gets here this weekend. We said he had to get a good points haul. So far, he's delivered that in race 1. We're on lap 11 of 16. And so not long to go to find out what happens in terms of deciding this championship.
Yeah, and it looks like Albert Arenas has been able to open up a bit of fresh air between him and Balega, although just as I say that, Balega makes a huge move. You know, once again, Balega's so strong through these final few corners in the lead up to turn 13, and he's having a look, but he's still not making any moves.
Balega, you just think at times whether he's going to have a go, and it's almost as if you can see his mind ticking over as he's braking hard into each corner, thinking, maybe not this time. I'll leave it for another lap. First place then for Albert Arenas at the moment ahead of Balega. This is the battle for the lead. Further back, a huge fight going on for the points and 3rd place overall. Points on offer also for Rory Skinner again. He's in 14th place. He's involved in a huge battle from 10th all the way down to 17th as well.
Yeah, and the interesting thing with this battle for the lead between Arenas and Balega is in race 1 we saw Arenas really benefit from Balega pushing maybe a bit too hard with Mir into that final corner, but now it's just these two, so an over-ambitious move. You know, it's just between these two. The rest of the pack 6 seconds behind, so one of them could really push it on the brakes and force them both wide.
Well, with Balega being so strong into those fast right-handers at the end of the circuit, you almost think to yourself, is it worth him just staying where he is for now, behind Arenas, and then on the last lap really try and pull the pin? These guys are all just going for it wherever they can. They see a gap, they fly for it. Dalla Porta at the moment stays in 3rd place ahead of Petrarca. Then it's Masia, number 5. Number 4 is Tony Arbolino, and then Utadate, number 31, still there in the mix.
Yeah, and Arbolino and Masia especially are having a really nice battle between the pair, and they're really making some big moves, especially Masia. Masia loves a bit of late braking here.
There you see Utadate just weighing things up. I'm just keeping an eye on the lap times of Senna Yamada as well. At the moment, on that last lap, he made a bit of time up. Generally, though, he's not been lapping as quick as the riders in front of him. If these guys continue to fight it out, though, Senna Yamada might just fancy his chances of the top 3 or 4 finish as well.
Now it all comes down to this last corner, and no one's able to make up any space this time, but you can guarantee that on that last lap, those 5 riders are there's gonna be some drama.
Across the line then, exactly the same lap times almost from Arenas and Balega, within thousandths of a second of each other. This the battle for 3rd, still to Dalla Porta, ahead of Petrarca, but not for much longer because here comes Tony Arbolino. Number 4 now moves up into 4th place.
Looks like he's going a bit wide. Oh no, he managed to just cut back. But Jalma Masia, meanwhile, is really looking for a way past Petrarca, but Masia getting close to Utadate there. Gonna have to be a bit careful. Masia's, for a small kid, he really likes to get involved in some punch-ups, which might not be advisable, but he certainly gives it a go.
So far, Dalla Porta has done his very best to stay in charge of this group, but Tony Arbolino is looking for a big result here. He's not had a podium so far this season, and this would be a huge result for the number 4, the 15-year-old, who was last year a pre-Moto3 champion in the CIV Championship. So very much sort of a hopeful promise for Italy, but this would be a
Balaguer's
result.
gotten back into the lead as well and opened up a tiny bit of a gap. Hopefully we can see a replay of how he managed to muscle his way through. No doubt it would have been an aggressive move from Balaguer there. And you say the time's really, really close. Balaguer managed to just an edge ahead in that first sector of the lap, though.
It'll be interesting now to see whether Balaguer can break Arenas. Arenas benefited from the fact that Balaguer and Mir were constantly fighting earlier on. And will he be able to stay now with Balaguer as we get to the closing stages? This is certainly the one last go now for Balaguer. This is his opportunity. The window of opportunity is here for Balaguer. But look at Arenas still in the slipstream as we head up towards turn 1.
Yeah, not many laps left now. We're really into the final quarter of this race. It looks like the rain has stayed away, so hopefully this race will finish dry. But it looks like Balaguer's definitely taken this battle by the scruff of the neck and is dragging Alberto Arenas along, whether he likes it or not, I think.
What a time this would be to win your first race of the season, because of course it carries significant hopes in terms of the championship. A win meaning he would be the championship leader coming into the last round, a second meaning he'd be down by 1 point. This is the battle continuing for third, and now it's Arbolino who's up into third place, but not for long.
Della Porta sliding up the inside there and opening the door. Masia has a look in the door, but Masia can't quite get up there. But this battle's going to get really heated as Della Porta seems to take the lead again, but it looks like Arbolino will have the inside line into dry stack. Late on the brakes, the Italian has tips in and managed to maintain the lead in this group of 5 riders. This is going to be a really, really big one.
Yeah, you can see any one of these guys could end up on the podium here, from third place at the moment, Tony Arbolino, all the way back to 7th place. Yuta Date, and Date in the background there, thought about making a move. Didn't quite work on Petrarca. Arbolino, as it stands, has got third place. Senna Yamada really is closing in on this group.
Yeah, and it seems like of that little group of 5 there, it seems like Dade was really the most calm. He's just watching and waiting. You know, I'm sure that he'd be happy for a top 7 result. That would be by far his best result of the year. But you never know, you know, as we saw with Nagashima in Moto2, it could all come down to the last lap and he could either go for a big move or really benefit from some big moves here.
Senna Yamada's just praying that these guys continue to do this over the next 2 or 3 laps. He's taking chunks out of this group at the moment. Just in the background, the number 81, the Estrella Galicia Junior colours, onto the start-finish straight we go. Balaguer still leads. It's now almost 0.3 of a second as they go into turn 1.
Yeah, nice run out of the final corner there for Jaume Masia, who tries to get up the inside of Petrarca, but just quite can't do it into that first corner as Della Porta continues to maintain his lead. But here comes Jaume Masia up the inside of Petrarca, manages to get through an Arbolino as well. A great move there from the Estrella Galicia rider.
This has given Della Porta just a chance to break away momentarily, but only by a hair's breadth. He's just got about half a bike length between him and the rest of the pack. Masia desperate to get this podium, as is Arbolino, their number 4. This is the battle for the lead, though, out front, with a lap and a half to go in this race. It's still Balaguer from Arenas.
Yeah, and it's close as anything, you know. Yet again, we see that gap under 1/10 of a second, so really anything could happen. And it looks like Blake is just a bit stronger on the brakes, but maybe can't get... He's definitely stronger going into the corner. It'll be interesting to see what his drive is like out of the corner. As we keep saying, you know, he's really fast through those closing right-handers, so that'll definitely be something that'll help him in the closing laps.
Jaume Masia is now up into third place. He's had a podium once before. Second place, his best finish so far this year. Della Porta, though, coming back at him, and look at Arbolino. Oh, he's just getting himself involved everywhere.
Petrarca as well. Petrarca bringing through Date. You know, Arbolino goes from leading that group to now he's at the back of that group and in 7th.
Brilliant stuff here in this scrap for third place in Moto3. And look at the background still, Senna Yamada. He's probably not close enough with the time left to do anything about this, but he really is catching this group. He'll be desperate coming into this last lap to have a say on who gets third place.
Yeah, of course. It looks like Balaguer and Arenas are just... Oh, everyone's coming into this final corner. Petrarca with a big move up the inside. That's Della Porta comes out on top of that little group battling for third. Jaume Masia tucked into the middle. Can he slipstream past Petrarca? It looks like it will be Jaume Masia who starts in 4th for this final lap, but no, Petrarca's right back on the brakes. Petrarca really strong on the brakes. Much better race from Petrarca. Meanwhile, it's Balaguer and Arenas who continue to hammer it out at the front. Both those guys are still setting 149s and low 150s, while all of this following group are in the 151s.
Balaguer went into turn 2 and 3. I just managed to catch a glimpse of it from the commentary box here. He got just a bit of an advantage going through there, so Balega might just try and hang this one out. What about third place, though? Who's going to get it? At the moment, it's Dalla Porta from Masia and Petrarca. This is the group out front. Arenas has got a lot of catching to do. I'm not sure he'll be able to make that up from here.
Nah, that gap's over half a second, which, you know, there's no slipstream from a half-second gap, and even the most ambitious late breakers isn't going to make up half a second in that final turn 13. Jorge Lorenzo corner. So it looks like, as long as Blake can keep everything together, it looks like he'll be on for his first win in this championship.
Well, what a time to do it as well. What's going to happen for third place as well? It's Dalla Porta, number 48, that has it from 77, Petrarca. Then number 5, Masia, followed by Arbolino and Darte.
It looks like it'll be these top 3 out of this group who are really in the battle for third. Meanwhile, as we continue to closing corners with Balega, just a couple more bends to go as he builds up into the final turn 13. It doesn't look, there'd have to be a big mistake here from Balega as he comes around the final corner nice and easy. Alberto Arenas, really solid result from Arenas in second, but it looks like it will be Balega who gets ready to cross the line and take his first win in the Moto3 Junior World Championship. A fantastic result from the Italian to lead the championship as they prepare to head into. Now it's all drama for third. It looks like it's Dalla Porta who's gotten the better of them. It looked like it was a bit messy going into that final turn 13, and a great podium from Dalla Porta with Jamal Masia just missing out.
Yeah, he did very well there to hold them off, but what about Balega? The team were absolutely delighted. He's left it until the penultimate round to win his first race, and it means that he will enter Valencia as the championship leader. Not the first time you've seen a number 46 winning a race, and look at the size of him. That just shows you there just how tall he is compared to that Moto3 bike. They might have to fast-track him onto a Moto2 if they can at some point. Of course, age being the big issue there. But what a ride from Balega.
Really excellent ride. You know, he's been fighting so hard. He had a bit of a mid-season dip, but in these last few races, he's definitely been in contention. And I'm about to head down the pit lane and ask him how that first win felt. You know, that must be absolutely massive for him to come back from, you know, no one really thought he'd be a championship contender a couple of rounds ago, but now he's leading ahead of the Canet and Mir double.
Yeah, well, Mir obviously licking his wounds. He'll stay on 132 points. Canet will stay on 156, but on 160, a 4-point lead for Nicolo Balega as we go into Valencia. Pauli, in terms of the championship, finished in 60, so no points for him. Albert Arenas really is the big winner here today in terms of points overhaul. Somehow, he's managed to get himself within 25 points of the championship lead, having entered the weekend a full 66 points behind series leader Aaron Canet. So Albert Arenas really has made up a lot of ground, but all the talk will be, of course, for number 46, Nicolo Balega, the Italian, who is just 16 years old, finished the championship 6th overall in 2014 as well. Now finally gets his hands on a winner's trophy. He wins it by a second and a half in the end. What a final lap that was, by the way. He was a full second quicker than Arenas on that last one. Dalla Porta with a podium, Masia in a strong 4th, Arbolino 5th, then Darte, Petrarca, Yamada and Bo Benchsnide. Further back, Raul Fernandez finishes in 10th place. It's Gerard Riou in 11th. Rory Skinner, really strong finish there for Rory Skinner on the Racing Steps Foundation FTR KTM. He gets a few more points there in 12th, ahead of Perez, Valtellini. Polanco with the final point in 15th, ahead of Idan Pauli, who's had a really bad day here today. Van Haren was then 19th, looking further down though. The first of the non-finishers for Filippo Follini. Juan Mir, by the way, finished in 23rd after falling earlier on. But it's going to be one of them seasons by the looks of it for the Spaniard. 4 races now this season where he's not finished in the points, and that's just not good enough. There he is at the bottom of your screen, number 36, probably a bit embarrassed, as Harry mentioned earlier on. But Nicolo Balega is now going to get his opportunity to talk to Harry Lloyd down in Parc Ferme. Just check out the size of him. Such a tall frame. How on earth he gets tucked into that little Moto3 bike, I do not know. He is already plenty tall enough to handle a big bike, probably even a super bike at that height. And talking of super bikes, we still have one race to go here left between now and the end of the day in Jerez, the Superbike race. Still no sign of any major rain. We had a few bits of wind earlier on. The next Superbike race is coming up after this one, once we get these guys into Parc Ferme. Slowing down a bit here, Balaguer. I'm not sure if he's just taking it all in or whether or not he's running out of fuel or something, but there he goes down and celebrates with a few friends and maybe a few family members as well. Big hugs all round for the number 46. He will be heading into the final round next week in Valencia as well for a GP wildcard, so he'll get plenty of practice in at the circuit before he then lines up at the same circuit the following week to try and defend his new lead in the championship in CEV. 4 points his advantage. Well, you know, it's been said that one or two championships are lacking a character or so, and I'm not sure you need to look a lot further than this young man. Balaguer there, what an excellent result. He's had his feet in Miracle Grow over the winter by the looks of things, because he is really tall, but a fantastic result for the VR46 team. And the number 46 victorious once more. An Italian leads the Junior World Championship in Moto3. In just a moment here, well, Balaguer's getting dragged over already, so he'll get that helmet off. And then hat will be on as he prepares himself to talk to Harry Lloyd down there. So we'll pass you over to Harry now, who's going to have a word with the race winner.
A first win in the championship and now head to the final round as the championship leader. Hard race though?
Yeah, hard race. I'm very, very happy for my first victory, and amazing moment for me because this is my first victory, and I hope to continue in this way for the rest of the season.
And some words in Italian.
Yeah.
And again in Italian?
Ok, sono molto contento di questa gara perché sono molto emozionato, perché comunque la mia prima vittoria è Moto3 nel SEV e spero di continuare questa strada per il resto della stagione e adesso siamo molto più vicini in campionato, quindi ce la possiamo giocare a Valencia.
Let's have a look at the highlights then from the second Moto3 race here from Jerez. It's a solid start from Balaguer on pole position with Juan Mir trying to close up. And Albert Arenas joining in from the early stages. The top three, as it was in race one, looking to go at it again in race two. There's a few concerns for the weather, as you saw there on the camera lens, a couple of spots of rain. But nevertheless, these three broke away from the chasing pack. Kaito Tova went down once more, sadly for him, and there was an epic battle developing for fourth place overall as well. Further back, with Dalla Porta leading that one. You're looking there on the scrap between Messia number 5 and Arbolino number 4. Utadate was involved in that as well, number 31, and 77 Petraga as well, who started the weekend from third on the grid and couldn't quite in the end manage to get his hands on the trophy. Then, big moment in the championship, Juan Mir went down again, and that meant that the championship was on the line for Balaguer, and that also meant that these guys were then fighting for third overall in the race. Dalla Porta was leading it at that particular point, and here was Juan Mir, who was leading just ahead of Balaguer, who for a while was just sitting there behind Albert Arenas, waiting to see what happened with the developing weather. The fight for third continued until the dying moments of the race. There's Messia going up ahead of Petrarca, with Arbolino and Utadate following. But in the end, the checkered flag went out, and a stonking victory. He's first in the class, and well-deserved too. Nicolo Balaguer taking the win ahead of Albert Arenas. And in the fight for third across the line, it was close. Elbows were out. Dalla Porta grabbed it just ahead of Jaume Messia. So we prepare for the riders to make their way onto the podium, the top three, and you can tell which ones won the race, can't you, just from the reactions that are going on here. Balega doesn't need telling where to go on stage. He makes his way to the top step. The VR46 team with their first CEV win. Albert Arenas, what a weekend for him, the 18-year-old. 45 points there for him. Exceptional performance. And great haul from the day. 45 out of possible 50 means that he's just 25 points behind in the championship. He's given himself a chance, moves himself ahead of Juan Mir. So third place goes to Dalla Porta, number 48. Good result for him after a disappointing first effort, and that's his first finish for some time. His first finish, in fact, in the points since Aragon race 1 and his first podium of the season.
Balega clearly overjoyed with that win. He was a bit hoarse from yelling. His cooldown lap seemed to take a very long time, huh?
Yeah, he was slowing down. I thought he was running out of petrol at first. I think he was just taking it all in, really. But either way, fantastic result for him, and he will lead the championship by 4 points going into the final round. That's certainly if my maths are right.
Yeah, definitely. And now he gets the big sherry glass to add to a slightly smaller one from earlier today. So a really good weekend for Balega. Obviously, terrible weekend for both Canet and Juan Mir. Saw Mir walking down pit lane, so at least he's not injured. And now Balega gets his first big fuel check of the year.
Fantastic stuff then for him. He'll pick up the check, and now the joyous Italian national anthem for race winner Niccolò Balega.
And there you have it, Niccolò Balega taking his first ever Moto3 Junior World Championship victory. Clearly he was soaking it all in, you know, really enjoying that Italian national anthem. And now with no more racing today, he can really let the fizzy water fly, and both Arenas and Dalla Porta can maybe share a cheeky bit of cava with him, but obviously no promoting of underage drinking, so hopefully Balega will be able to go and enjoy the race result before he makes his World Championship debut with a wild card in Valencia, and then obviously it's all down to the wire as he battles for this Moto3 Junior World Championship in Valencia with the last 2 races of the year. Certainly it seemed at the mid part of the season when Balega struggled at the likes of Aragon, obviously big back straight there, really hard for him. So it'll be good to see how he can do at Valencia, and you know, now it's definitely his advantage leading the World Championship, and there's definitely a lot to do. And now here we go, see if Steve's math was right, and yes, it was. Niccolò Balega leads the championship by just 4 points ahead of Aaron Canet, and surprise of the day, Albert Arenas in third, 25 points behind Balega. Not a huge gap, but still significant. Then Juan Mir 28 points behind, still mathematically possible. Then Kyril Powie out of contention, but tied with Bo Benschneider. Jaume Masia in 7th, Lorenzo Dalla Porta up into 8th position with Stefano Valtellini in 9th, and 92 points back on compatriot Niccolò Balega, who leads this championship.
Further back there, Senna Yamada, 10th place in the championship overall for him, 10 points clear of Lorenzo Petrarca. He picks up some big points here today. Yuta Date up to 13th overall from 18th when he started the weekend. Arbolino with some points as well. So a really good day for a number of these younger riders coming into the closing stages.
Yeah, and look at the huge mix of nationalities we have in there, you know. Fair few Italians, fair few Japanese, lots of Spaniards. Raul Fernandez in 19th ahead of Gerard Riou, David Sanchez, Enzo Bull on the French rider, Maximilian Kapler, the German, Vincent Perez, Simon Daniello, the Frenchman, Thomas Van Leeuwen, and then Rory Skinner, who's now picked up 5 points in just his first 2 rounds of the CEV Championship. So Rory Skinner definitely one to watch, not just if you're British, but just one if you enjoy fast riders.